Welcome to Going Underground. I'm Afshin Rattansi. Coming up in the show, and as Britain again prepares to send troops into Afghanistan, we ask, what are they there for, let alone in a week that saw NATO's top civilian envoy in Afghanistan, Ismail Aramaz, come under armed attack. NATO's top envoy in Afghanistan came under attack in the past few days. It's just one case amongst many in the apparently escalating violence there. Last year was the country's bloodiest year since Britain invaded in 2001. And British troops will be going into Afghanistan in the coming weeks. What are we there for? With me is author and one of Afghanistan's leading industrialists back in the 1970s, Nasir Shansab. Welcome, Nasir, to Going Underground. So, Puma helicopters flying from to Afghanistan from RAF Benson in Oxfordshire. 500 UK troops died so far in this war, 10,000 maybe wounded. What is it for? Why are we going back in, and why were we there?
I think we found out belatedly that the Afghan security forces are not able to control the insurgency, to beat actually the insurgency. And now the United States has changed policy, or is planning to change policy.
Any moment we're going to hear from President Obama, according to John Kerry.
Yes, I think what will happen is they will slow down the reduction of American forces, and President Obama will probably announce that American troops will stay on beyond 2016, when all American troops were to be withdrawn. So these are major changes, and I think Britain, as a close ally of the United States, is following suit and doing the same thing.
Do you think people understand that there's a correlation between the number of troops that are there and the amount of violence that there's there? The more ISAF troops there are, there's the more violence.
Yes, of course. And I think one of the worries that the United States has, and probably Britain has, is ISIS, or ISIL. ISIS has established a presence in Afghanistan, and that makes it even more
nothing like that in northern Iraq,
of course, Syria. Not. They are in the beginnings of placing themselves in Afghanistan. In fact, their nominated man to lead the ISIS forces in Afghanistan was killed in a skirmish about 3 weeks ago. So this shows that they are trying to be active there.
Gee, some would suggest that there is an economics aspect to all of this, because they're starting to see some kinds of economic growth there. America wants its dividend for all the lives lost. We're not even talking about Afghan lives lost yet,
yes,
but, in this conversation.
Yes.
And they want to retain a hold over that. ISIS actually probably suits them as an excuse to go in there.
Afghanistan is very rich in mineral resources. It has gas, it has some oil, it has one of the largest iron ore mines, untouched iron ore mines in the world. So it's very rich, no doubt. Economy will play a role in Afghanistan. It's centrally positioned in the central part of Asia.
But let's get back to these troops then. So we know what a prize Afghanistan is, how many different empires have failed to take it.
Yes.
Sir Nicholas Carter, one of the top generals here, said that Tony Blair's Labour government ignored the politics, economics and culture of Afghanistan. That was just in the past couple of weeks, and saying that we just don't understand what it's like. I mean, you are Afghan. Well, tell us a bit about that, and whether it was stupidity or by design that the British government hasn't bothered to understand any of it.
I think one of the major mistakes was that the help was not necessarily directed to the people of Afghanistan, but more a small percentage of Afghans who were in the right places.
Well, a lot of people in Britain, especially probably quite a few servicemen, bereaved servicemen and women's families, might be saying the biggest mistake was going in at all. Have we improved it? Is there any point of these latest people going into Afghanistan from this Oxfordshire air base in the next couple of weeks? What is Britain's interest there?
I don't believe that there's a direct interest for Britain to be in Afghanistan. But the United States, as a global power, has decided to be in Afghanistan, and Britain, as the closest ally of the United States, follows suit. At least that's the way I would look at it.
And we're increasing the number of drones missions over Afghanistan. Britain is. It showed a bigger increase than even the United States. From what you know about the Afghan people's response to these assassination drone strikes,
They hate it, frankly. I don't think that the drone policy of the United States and Britain do have the effect that they should have. The effect that they should have is that the people would be happy that they are doing something right. And rightly or wrongly, the people are not for it.
And they're not for it even when they do take out the right person, and not a wedding party.
They are not for it because the majority of people who, in my view at least, die are civilians who have nothing to do with the war.
Well, you say that Britain is just following orders from the White House, in effect. We do see on our streets up and down the country here, partly in response to austerity, drug use here in Britain, and some of them are derivatives from arguably Afghanistan's biggest resource, not your iron ore. How's the situation with opium since British troops went in?
Sure. The story about drugs in Afghanistan is a very strange story. The United Nations, according to the United Nations, in 2001, when the Taliban actually ruled Afghanistan, Afghanistan produced about 285 tons of opium. Today, Afghanistan is producing almost 9,000 tons of opium and has become the largest opium producer in the world. All of this happened under the very noses of averagely about 100,000 well-trained international troops.
So, I mean, was it the destruction, the aerial bombardment and destruction of Afghanistan's infrastructure that meant that people's only option was for opium production?
For many farmers, it was the only option. The Afghan government, as well as the international community, should have gone to the countryside and helped those farmers to produce crops that they could sell at a profit. And the Afghan countryside was mainly neglected.
So, we destroyed their infrastructure, so then they're growing opium. The drones, you're saying they don't
Yes.
that much at all. What's the legacy of ISAF, according to reports now from pretty reputable sources? ISAF facilitating torture, according to Amnesty International and other
Yes.
groups. What effect is that? I mean, how do Afghans see the British
I think most Afghans see the influence of ISAF as a negative one. Initially, in the year 2001, 2002, 2003, I think people were very happy about their presence. But ultimately, they came, rightly or wrongly, consider the ISAF presence.
That's even funny.
I'm sorry.
There'll be lots of conspiracy people saying,
yes, I'm sorry
ISAF,
about that
ISIS. ISIS weren't there before ISAF. That is true.
The ISAF presence as an invasion of foreign powers.
And before I ask you about what the House of Commons response to you when you spoke there the past few days, you have dealt with fiction. The big hit has been Homeland, of course. How differently, as an Afghan, would you have dealt with the issues that Homeland deals with?
I think the United States, after 9/11, probably understandably so, went to the extreme of basing its foreign policy on military aspects. So the foreign policy of the United States became militarized, and everything is being viewed in a military sense. And I don't think that problems like in Afghanistan and the Middle East have a military solution. Ultimately, they have to be solved politically and socially within the societies.
And what was the reaction to that kind of statement at the House of Commons when you spoke to a packed room, as I hear it?
I did speak my mind. I'm happy to be able to say. What exactly people felt, I'm not sure. I had a very good response in the answer and question period. So I'm very hopeful that people did, at least to a certain extent, go along with me.
But Britain will still be in Afghanistan by next month.
I'm actually,
despite what you said,
I'm being in Kabul. I'm going to Kabul. I'm going to arrive there on the 1st of March. Afghanistan is a different story. It's a long way from here. In spite of the fact that the world has become very small, and if you are unhappy in one part of the world, we cannot be really happy in the other part of the world.
Well, I hope you stay safe when you go to Kabul. Nasir Shansab, thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
That's it for today, but join us again on Monday when we hear where the government stands on mass snooping laws, and we speak to a Guardian contributor who suddenly had his contract terminated when his perspective appeared to differ from the US State Department. And to think the Guardian is in the middle of appointing its new editor. Meanwhile, connect to us via Twitter, Facebook, SoundCloud and email, and don't forget RT UK News with Bill Dodd every weekday evening on the hour from 6 till 10. See you on Monday.